I'm sharing this experience to encourage others to be more careful when being somewhere alone at night, especially at rest areas. This incident occurred not too long ago. This happened in North Carolina while I was traveling with my dad, who's a truck driver. I joined him for a few days on the road to gain some experience, because I'm interested in getting my CDL in a few years. We're from Georgia, so the drive to North Carolina wasn't long, and we arrived basically the same day. The delivery was scheduled for early the next morning, around 12 o'clock or 1 a.m. We stopped at a rest area for the night. The parking lot was full of trucks, but the restrooms were completely empty, likely because most drivers were asleep in preparation for early deliveries. As soon as we parked, my dad went straight to sleep. I'm usually a night owl, so I stayed awake. Around 2 a.m., I decided to use the restroom. I also brought my razor with me so I could line up my mustache, assuming no one would be inside at that hour, and that I'd feel free and comfortable taking my time, since I usually only do that at home. When you enter the restroom, there's two sections, one on the left and one on the right. I went to the left side and noticed a man standing near the urinal. He was very tall, at least around 6'4". I didn't think much of it, and went into a stall to use the bathroom. Afterward, I washed my hands, and noticed that he was still standing there. Just as I was about to leave, he unzipped his pants and began using the urinal. I felt uncomfortable, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Still, to make it seem like I had left, I went to the right side of the restroom instead. I stood in front of the mirror to line up my mustache. However, around 10 seconds later, the same man entered that side of the restroom. This immediately raised concern. He had already been on the other side, so there was no clear reason for him to follow me. He started walking toward me, and as soon as I took out my razor, he suddenly stopped directly behind me. He looked shocked, almost as if something hadn't gone the way he expected. At that point, I felt genuinely uneasy. I continued lining up my mustache as quickly as possible without messing it up, trying to remain calm. Through the mirror, I noticed him walk to a urinal and pretend to unzip his pants. When I looked back at him, he was staring directly at me, pretending to use the urinal. He nodded at me, and I nodded back. Not because I felt comfortable, but because I didn't want him to think I was aware that he was up to something. A few seconds later, he entered an empty stall. When I glanced back, he was standing completely still in the corner of the stall, staring directly at me with wide eyes. I pretended not to notice. About 20 seconds later, he returned to the urinal and again pretended to unzip his pants, briefly looking at me before turning away. Once I finished lining up my mustache, I left immediately. As I passed him, I kept the razor in my hand in case I needed to use it to defend myself, considering I had to walk past him to get out. While I'm not short or weak, he was much taller, and appeared to be at least 20 years older than me, considering I'm 5'9", and he looks like he was in his late 30s or 40s. I knew he could easily overpower me. I exited the restroom and noticed security cameras near the entrance, which gave me some relief. The man did not follow me, thank God. I was flooded with relief. I turned to the truck, where my dad was still asleep, along with all the other drivers in the lot. I told a friend what happened, and about 20 minutes later he replied, suggesting I go back to the restroom on FaceTime with him, which I did for some reason. However, the man was gone. I explained everything in detail, and showed my friend where the guy had stood before. Then I left the restroom about 5 minutes later, and ended the call. As I stepped outside again, I noticed a separate parking lot behind the rest area for passenger vehicles. One red car had its headlights on, and was the only car illuminated. When I turned to look at it, the headlights immediately shut off. I couldn't see who was inside due to the darkness and distance. I don't know if the driver just got there and was parking, leaving, or possibly even the same man from earlier, but the timing unsettled me. I went back to the truck where my dad was still asleep. Nothing else happened that night. I returned to my normal life. However, I never told my dad about the incident because he's very strict, and had only recently started letting me go outside alone. I was 17 at the time, and I knew telling him would likely result in him not letting me go outside alone again until I turned 18. The only person I told about this was my friend. Afterward, I tried to rationalize what happened. The man didn't appear homeless or on drugs, but the way he was acting was far from normal. He had clean clothes and a well-kept beard, so I doubt he was homeless. Still, what continues to bother me is what he was planning and why he acted the way he did. And what will creep me out forever about that night is what would have happened if I hadn't had my razor with me. Since that incident, I've become much more careful about my surroundings, even during the day, and I avoid going out alone late at night.